Because it's time for the old switcheroo where we're talking gaming retro with Mike and Jaymo.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Jaymo. We're the often imitated, never emulated retro gaming podcast diving deep into the Nintendo Switch Online Nintendo Classics catalog. Today we are pitting Killer Instinct for the SNES against Killer Instinct Gold for the N64 in an episode we are calling Ultra Combo. If you like what you hear, don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course play along. Now, Mike, our guest today, he's already been on the show this season. He was the idea man for our wonderful Pokemon Direct episode, but this is Killer Instinct. We got to go for a multi-hit combo. Do you know the button combination to get him back in the ring?
Not really. I do not know any of the button combinations.
Well, I think it's just the button you hit to get him in the Zoom. Please welcome back SSJ3 Butch from Twitch and from many beloved past episodes. How you doing, Butch?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Doing awesome. Your declaration that you would riot if the final evolutions of the Wind and Wave starters became bipedal really got people talking online. Yeah, I love the comments.
They did. That was probably, I don't know if it was the most controversial of your guys' videos, but it definitely was one of them. And I noticed that a lot of people were like, "Oh, the chicken one is already bipedal," and they forgot the fact that I said humanoid. Like, I don't care if they're bipedal because, like, you look at Empoleon, right? He's a penguin. He's bipedal. It makes sense. But they didn't just make him a man in a penguin suit.
Man in a penguin suit. You gotta love that. So there are rumors that the final evolutions have indeed leaked, but I've not seen them myself. Are you sharpening your pitchforks?
I have not seen them yet either. I take leaks with a grain of salt because I follow the community on YouTube. And you always get people, especially around like the time when they announce stuff, where they're like, this person is a very well-known leaker and they have this information, right? Like the past few years, we've been supposed to be getting like a remake of Gen 5. We're supposed to get a like crossover game between Johto and Sinnoh, right? That's a combination game. And none of it ever comes out, even though these people are reliable leakers. So I don't ever follow that stuff because 90% of the time it's just bunk.
Yeah, I had an old cat that was a reliable leaker, but that was something totally different. Mikey, Mikey, you haven't seen the leaks, have you?
No, I don't pay any attention to it.
All right. Well, let's just assume Butch is going to be angry about him. Guys, I'm really excited for this episode. We haven't done an old switcheroo versus match since season 2 when Brian and Mike unfairly teamed up on me to declare Punch Out better than Super Punch Out. Butch, I assume you're with me on this one. Super Punch Out's the better game.
Yeah, I believe Super Punch Out's better.
Just being a troll. I didn't really think you agreed with me.
It's tough because like you got to remember I grew up in the age of like Nintendo was fresh for me, right? So some people that are playing it isn't. And so like I dealt with the frustration of playing Punch Out as a kid, and I'm like, this is just, and then you get Super Punch Out, which is still tough, but wasn't as bad as Mike Tyson's Punch Out or whatever you want to, just regular Punch Out after everything happened. And so I just, the colors, the characters, I think Super Punch Out is better.
You hear that, Brian? You hear that, Brian? But you're a good egg. Well, guys, without further ado, let's get started because ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's get ready to combo! In the red corner, arriving in America the same weekend that Nicolas Cage left Las Vegas, at 8 1/4 centimeters and weighing in at a respectable 85 grams, it's got 16 bits and a babe who does the splits. Killer Instinct for the SNES. Yay, Killer Instinct! And in the blue corner, coming to life on the very day that the Main Street Electrical Parade died. Mike, how do you like that one? At 7 1/2 centimeters and weighing in at a whopping 180 grams, it's the 64-bit cart that will stop your heart. Killer Instinct Gold for the Nintendo 64. Let's get into the descriptions here. According to Nintendo Switch Online, do you have the instinct to achieve supreme victory? This fighting game series features a bleak world dominated by a single corporation, Ultratech. Outfitting combatants with high-tech weaponry, Ultratech entertains the masses with the Killer Instinct Tournament, using it as a testing ground for their weapon designs. Pick from a roster of killer fighters and test your instincts across multiple explosive game modes. You can join in a single-player arcade match against a computer opponent, Pit your favorite characters against their friends in team mode, or face off in the round-robin style tournament mode with up to 8 players. There's even a training mode where you can sharpen your techniques and hone your skills to achieve supreme victory. Jump in on your opponent and string your attacks together to create combos with hundreds of thousands of moves at your fingertips. You'll need all the practice you can get to have a chance at landing a 70-hit ultra combo. On the receiving end of an attack string, interrupt your opponent by utilizing Killer Instinct's iconic combo breaker mechanic, with quick attack working against medium, medium against fierce, and fierce against quick. It's just like what, Mike?
Fire, grass, and water Pokemon.
Rock, paper, scissors, that's right. Then, when you have them on the ropes, use your danger move. It will take more than radical moves and deadly specials to secure victory. It will take Killer Instinct. Full disclosure, that was the 2 descriptions for the 2 games kind of combined, if you couldn't tell. So, for tonight's preliminary matchup, it's a rumble in the retail jungle, Killer Instinct versus Killer Instinct Gold, a literal boxing match. Mike, would you mind describing for our audio listeners the Killer Instinct Super Nintendo box?
Yeah, so we have one of the fighters who's kind of like somewhere between robot and suit of armor looking.
Yeah, kind of Terminator meets Shredder.
Sort of facing dead on with what looks like one arm pulled back for a punch.
Yeah.
And I think probably more interesting to this is less what they have going on with the fighter and the fact that this says a music CD is included inside.
Yeah, Killer cuts the music CD. Which, Butch, if I'm led to, if I understand what you were dropping down during our little Killer Instinct amateur tournament, you have some opinions on this one.
Yes, I have the CD still to this day. It came in like not like a full jewel case. It came in one of the little sleeves, and it's the music from the game, right? It's nothing fancy, but it was, even as a kid, I loved putting it in a CD player and just listening to the stage music, right? You got, because all their stages in there were great, and I thought it was amazing. I loved that they included it, and I think that definitely was a good selling point for them.
When was the last time you listened to it?
Oh boy, and it's been a while, because I don't even know if I own a CD player anymore, because most, everything's digital nowadays.
Sure. So I swear I'm not just being a creep on purpose, but I was listening to it to prepare for this episode.
Uh-huh.
The first track, KI Feeling, is like Orchid Stage.
Yes.
But it kind of halfway through the song just becomes like sex noises set to music.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
okay.
it does, 100%. And honestly, I mean, I don't want to say it makes sense, but like Orchid was their like the sexy woman for this series,
Yeah.
right? Because in like Mortal Kombat, right, you had Sonya, and then you eventually got Katana and Melina, and then Street Fighter got Cammy. So like that was, she was it. That was their, here's the sexy woman.
Yeah, every fighting game had one, at least.
Yeah, at least one.
And Butch, would you mind describing the box for Killer Instinct Gold?
Okay, so Gold has full gore, again, from the top, from the Super Nintendo. They're facing off, I think that's May.
Tusk.
I remember. Tusk. Okay. Yeah. And they're just facing off against each other. And you still kind of got like the industrial background-ish that they kind of look like they were going for on the Super Nintendo cover as well. Yeah. And of course, then you got the classic red stripe down the side for the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, that always hits a nostalgia string for me. I don't know about you guys, but I think that even though the N64 game having 2 fighters on the cover like more clearly conveys this is a fighting game, those are 2 clearly different characters that I'll be able to play as, but there's something kind of doopy looking about Tusk. It's like he looks kind of vulnerable, you know what I mean? You guys with me?
Yeah, I feel that.
It's like he's literally sticking his neck out, and it's like, come on, dude, like protect your neck. Like I'm pretty sure that was a song about that. So yeah. Even though, there's more going on, I think the SNES cover takes it. I think it's really iconic, and I think Fulgore looking right at the customer, like I think it's intimidating, but also you're like, ooh, like I wanna step into the ring. Mike, which one do you like better?
I think I would also go with the SNES. I think honestly, there's also just something sort of fun about throwing in the CD.
Yeah. It's kind of a little value add. Butchie with us, clean sweep, Killer Instinct, Super Nintendo, better cover.
Yeah, and I will say that because when I was getting the game, right? That's what drew me to that game
Oh,
was the fact that you have Fulgore, who at the time, like I mentioned, the other series, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, the two other big fighters, they didn't have robot characters. Mortal Kombat didn't have a robot character until 3, when they had Cyrax and Sector.
I didn't realize that, but you're right. They're totally borrowing from Killer Instinct.
Right, and so you have this game, and you have a fighter who's a robot, and so I was like, oh, this is gonna be different than your usual fighting games. And then I don't know if it's cool to go into this yet, but this is one of the only cartridges that's black and
Yeah.
not gray.
Yeah. I remember. Dang, you know what? You just triggered that memory in me.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was a cool cartridge. It was always exciting when it was a different color plastic.
Yep.
Kids don't understand. Kids these days, you know what I mean? They don't know the thrill of opening. Ooh, I mean, I guess the equivalent would be like when I get a vinyl and it's like the vinyl is an interesting color. But
Right.
but I don't think kids these days are collecting vinyls either. So
No.
yeah.
Maybe a holographic Pokemon card, I guess.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know.
Yeah. I see what you're putting down. Well, there you have it, folks. TBO, the winner of this literal boxing match is Killer Instinct on the SNES. So we got some behind the scenes stats on each fighter for you guys. When game designer Ken Loeb first pitched his concept for Killer Instinct to Namco executives back in the early 90s, he was using the working title Melee, which I thought kind of fun, because like Melee is one of the most iconic fighting games ever now. But the studio passed on the project, instead choosing to produce the Sword Fighter Weapon Lord, which has been completely lost to the sands of time, I think. Did either of you guys ever play this one?
It looks familiar, but it
Yeah.
might have been one of those where I picked it up on a weekend and never touched it ever again.
I think a lot of us recognize that box art. Like the box art is kind of memorable with
Yeah.
like the scorpion guy and the sword one. Mike, you never lorded your weapons?
I have never heard of this at all.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of looks like Killer Instinct, but honestly not as interesting.
Honestly, it looks better.
You think it looks better? Oh, okay. Hold your horses there, Grumpy Gus. Another working title for Killer Instinct was Thriller Instinct. And in fact, there are image files of this title screen intact in the code on the arcade cabinet. But according to the website Cutting Room Floor, no one knows if the title was originally proposed to get around Nintendo's infamous never say die rule. Apparently, Nintendo did not like putting death in the titles of games, or if it was changed to Killer Instinct because of fear of legal complications regarding Michael Jackson's Thriller. So somebody leave a comment if you know the history behind this. But I think Thriller Instinct, a much worse title, right?
I was actually going to ask, is Thriller Instinct the one where Michael Jackson stars in? So
Rare
Michael,
crossover with Moonwalker.
I was gonna say, yeah. Okay, but seriously though, like I don't know the problem I have to say, but Michael Jackson as a Killer Instinct fighter with like rapid combo moonwalks, like kind of sick, kind of sick.
hmm.
So, according to the Killer Instinct documentary Fight On by the YouTube channel Hold Back to Block, the iconic combo-centric gameplay of the series was directly inspired by the SN character Kim Kop-hwan from Fatal Fury and Fatal Fury 2, which are games that we will cover in a future season. And there reportedly exists a cartridge of a Killer Instinct 2 on the Super Nintendo. That game was originally developed for the Super Nintendo, but when dev kits became available for the N64, they switched over to the more powerful hardware because they could get closer to the actual arcade experience. But Rare fulfilled their contract and finished Killer Instinct 2 on the SNES. So I would love, but you popped off when Star Fox 2 was announced, right? For Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I feel like there's some weird precedence of where like they were supposed to do originally the N64 for the first Killer Instinct, because I distinctly remember the first Killer Instinct in the arcade cabinet, because I would go to the arcade, and my arcade was one of those that had all three, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Killer Instinct. And I remember them saying that it would be out on the Ultra 64.
Yeah.
And so if I, this is, I could be totally wrong, but I think the original Killer Instinct was supposed to be on the N64, and then the Super FX chip came out, and that allowed them to then put it on the Super Nintendo, and then I'm guessing in some weird history of whatever it went down, 2 was supposed to be on the Super Nintendo and then went to the N64.
Yeah, I know Ultra 64 was the name of the arcade hardware that ran both Killer Instinct games, and it was a working title, I believe, for the N64 at one
It
point.
was. It
Yeah,
was.
so I would not be surprised at all to hear that's true. And then one last piece of fun trivia for you guys. Chris Sutherland, the iconic voice of the Killer Instinct announcer, is also the lead developer and voice actor behind Banjo-Kazooie and his own Kickstarter-led passion project Yooka-Laylee. So I just love that like these really cute characters are the same guy that's like Ultra Combo. So before we get this grudge match underway, what is our history with the Killer Instinct series and how far did we each get? Butch, you were excited to do this episode with us. Can we start with you?
Yeah, as I've already started, talking about like the cartridge, I remember getting this game, and I was, you had those kids that were Mortal Kombat, and you had those were Street Fighter. I was Killer Instinct. That was me. I, yeah, I played the other ones, but like Killer Instinct was like, this is the game this is my fighter. This is the one I play when I come home from school. This is the one that helps me, de-stress. I would look up as best I could in like if I went to Walmart or whatever and they had the guides, I'd be like, okay, let me find some secrets, let me find whatever. And I remember finding the code to unlock Idol and playing as him. Like I had to remember it, right? So when I got home, I could be like, okay, how does this go? And so I could actually use the boss. But yeah, I have distinct memories of it, getting that game, which it was at, believe it or not, a Sears that I bought it. And I just, yeah, having the CD, the black cartridge, and like Cinder was my boy. I played as Spinal as well, but like Cinder was my go-to. That was my guy. And the other thing that I remember blowing my mind was when we talked about the cover was having a robot fighter.
Yeah.
And because you're used to those other fighters where they don't, and they give like bios for them, and they're like, oh, this person's from America, and they're 24. And I remember seeing Fulgore, and it's like 2 years old. And I'm like, because as a kid, that just kind of blows your mind. And I'm like, wait, he's 2? But I'm like, oh yeah, he's a robot, so that makes sense.
Yeah, we played a Fantasy Star 4 that had a similar character where like she was like a couple months old, but like you said, robot. So I'm gonna guess since this game was so important to you, and you said that you did the idle code, I'm gonna guess you have beaten this game.
Oh yeah.
You Nintendo did.
Nintendo! Family Computer.
And what about Killer Instinct Gold? What was your experience with that one?
That one, I remember I didn't buy that one, but I did rent it a lot because it was still Killer Instinct, right? So it was still that like, oh, I love this game, I love this franchise. So I did play it. I played it quite a bit. Did not like the fact that Cinder wasn't in it, but I dealt. It did not hit the same way, and sometimes sequels don't, but I don't know, it didn't hit the same way as the original did. But I played the hell out of it.
And Nintendo, did you ever beat it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nintendo! Family Computer.
Mike, less of a history, I would probably guess.
I don't think I'd ever really heard of them before.
Really?
And so I'd never played them before.
Yeah.
For Killer Instinct, I played it on the lowest difficulty setting. And so I reached the end where they basically just said, try that on a higher difficulty setting.
But you beat the last boss.
It does not have, or I mean, there's always a last boss, but
Okay,
I
that's
did
true.
not see the last boss.
So you didn't fight the two-headed troll Idol.
I did not.
Okay. Well, Butch, what do you think?
In an age where people like to argue about whether beating a game on easy or not counts, when you get those people that are like, you didn't really complete this Souls game unless you did it blindfolded with your feet on a Guitar Hero controller. I think he beats it.
You think so?
Do what you can, and as long as you're enjoying it and you feel like you've accomplished it, yeah, I think so.
So I don't press it unless Mike enjoyed it then. All right, I'm playing it. Mike Nintendo did.
Nintendo! Family Computer.
Beat it on easy. Just purely for philosophically, I am normally not one to say like that doesn't matter unless it means you actually didn't get to a final encounter like Idol. So I would say that like things essentially the game was cut short because it was on easy mode.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say that. It's just
not worth it.
Yeah. It's like with people being like, well, you never beat Street Fighter 2 unless you actually fought Akuma.
Right.
Semantics, I feel.
In which case, I am more prepared for Killer Instinct Gold, which I also went through on the lowest setting. And number one, so it's the same thing. You don't fight the final boss on that,
Right.
but it does roll credits.
Okay.
And I did still beat the final boss through a loophole.
Interesting. I can't wait to hear about that. But you Nintendo did, at least technically.
Nintendo. Family computer.
What's the loophole?
So one of the things that Killer Instinct Gold has is the team battle.
Sure.
And I had noticed you can set the teams from 1 to 11.
Okay.
And you just have 10 stock characters.
Okay.
So I did a battle against the computer of 11 characters to see what would happen. So I just selected like one of each and then selected a second one twice. And then the computer, you don't know what they've selected in terms of who you're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
The computer just selected one of each of them. And so as I was going through, the last one I had to beat, and I think I came down to my last fighter as well. It was close, but the last one I had to beat was that gargoyle thing that I think is the final boss normally.
Yeah, Gargos.
Yeah, so I did get to see that and fight that and all that through that little thing that I'd hoped was going to work that way, but I did not know it would work until I reached the very end and he showed up. I was like, okay, cool, this worked. I did beat him.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't beat everyone leading up to him, but you beat him.
I did beat everybody leading up to him because they were the other 10 people on the team.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you essentially played arcade mode just in a different format.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
That's really fascinating. I kind of love that they thought to do that they would have the AI pick the final boss character. So I first encountered Killer Instinct at Colleen's house. She was on our show last season talking about Pilot Wings, but I like instantly fell in love with this game. It was so much fun. Like Butch said, the black cartridge made it feel real special. And I didn't own an SNES. I was a Genesis kid, so unfortunately it wasn't one that like I could borrow, you know? And then I played the Xbox One reboot, which is fantastic. Butch, have you tried the modern Killer Instinct?
Yes. I don't know. Well, I don't know how it works now, but I know when it came out, it was like basically, if I remember correctly, it was like, hey, you can have these two characters for free, and then you had to like buy all the rest of the characters. And I was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
They did eventually just release it as just a game with like
Okay.
all the characters, and I don't even think it was like I think it was value price. I think it was like $40 or something for every character.
Okay.
But that gets really fun though. That's the one that eventually gets Battletoads and Master Chief in there, and
Yes.
like the guy from Gears of War. So that's super fun.
Yeah.
And then Killer Instinct Gold, I didn't play it until the rare replay.
Okay.
Although that one might be Killer Instinct 2. Although Killer Instinct 2 and Killer Instinct Gold are very similar, at least in terms of content. But I am very proud to say that through gratuitous use of the rewind, I Nintendo did beat both of these games.
Nintendo. Family computer.
But only play it once, because our listeners have heard that a lot for this episode. So let's kick off this old switcheroo versus match with round one. Ding, ding, ding. Characters pitting Killer Instinct versus Killer Instinct Gold. Let's consider this as being a discussion of not only which characters are included, but also the way the game kind of portrays the characters. So, Butch, you said that Killer Instinct Gold didn't hit like the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Does Killer Instinct win automatically because it's the game that has Cinder?
I don't maybe, and I think part of the problem too is Riptor wasn't in there. Like Thunder, I'm like, okay, whatever, he was there. But like, I also liked Riptor too because like it's a dinosaur. Like,
Yeah.
And once again, like with the robots, there weren't dinosaurs in your fighting games, so that definitely put a damper on it for me. And I don't know. Like, I feel like Idol compared to Gargos, I don't know. I just feel like Gargos is here's your typical gargoyle, whatever, here you go. And then Idol actually had some history to him, right? Because he used to be human and then he was transformed into this. So, that's where it kind of like to me, it just kind of, I don't feel like they put as much heart into gold.
Interesting. It's funny because Gargos is by a pretty big margin my preferred final boss. I love him with his ability to fly around the stage and like shoot air projectiles down at you like Akuma style. And the
Mhm.
fact that you have to knock him into the air to end that fight, that was kind of a fun, stressful moment because you get him down to 0 health and he's still going. And you're like, what is going on? But you have to do the stage finisher of a move that knocks him into the air so that he falls
Mhm.
off the bridge and into the lava. I mean, it doesn't explain that, so I imagine being a kid in the arcade and being very upset and
Mhm.
wondering why the final boss won't freaking die. But I don't know. I think Gargos is a lot more interesting. Idol, the only thing I remember of Idol is that he does that kind of scary, like, I don't know what the term is, but like when a bull drags their heels again or drags their
Yeah,
hoofs against the dirt,
I just
right?
called it a stomp.
Yeah, he does that stomp, like when he knocks you away, he kind of like,
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, that's a little scary.
right.
Mike, Team Idol or Team Gargos?
I think it has to be Idle
Damn it. Really? Why?
because of the scene that you get when you win in Killer Instinct with Idle.
Explain.
So with I guess technically with both games, you have like a end like scene that happens for whoever you've won the game with.
Yeah.
If you do that with Idle, this woman comes up and is like, "Hey, I think you're my missing baby," and he just like clubs her.
What?
I
He kills a
was wondering if any of you had seen that.
matricide?
Well, it's kind of like a it's like, are you? It's like it's you, Bill. I think it's Billy, something like that. And it's like, yeah, I don't think so. It's like, but I gave him that club, and it's just like,
Oh, that's a Street Fighter joke. That's Blanca's ending. Blanca's mom comes up and says, Billy, it's you. And he like cries and he is reunited with his mom because she can see through the monster and see who he really is.
ah,
That's hilarious. Dang. Well, so did you beat the game as idol or did you watch like a speed run?
I watched a compilation video that I will put in the show notes
Okay, of the character endings.
of all the character endings.
Okay, any other gems?
I think the other two that I'll mention, Spinal basically leaves fighting to become an actor, and then Thunder, like his motivation is to find out what happened to his brother.
Right.
And at the end, he's like, he finds out his brother's dead. And so it's like him at like the grave, and then he walks away. And it's like, his brother Eagle can rest at peace, or can he? And then basically the animation for Spinal rises up from there.
Yeah, it's sort of a carry ending with the hand coming out of the grave.
And then Riptor, the dinosaurs, basically just like take over.
Yeah, that's the one that was in the Nintendo Direct when they announced this game. It's like the Raptors running wild in the streets of New York or something like that. Yeah, that's fun. I love that. I love Spinal becoming an actor because he's very like Ray Harryhausen. Like he's very which one was it? Jason and the Argonauts that had the stop motion skeletons?
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, but like I mean, Spinal's stage in Killer Instinct Gold is amazing because it's like this boat with a bunch of skeletons rowing the boat, and the stage is rocking back and forth. So I totally thought about that movie. I really love all of these characters. I mean, I don't, some are obviously better than others, but one
Hmm.
of my favorite things about Killer Instinct as a series is that I think just visually it might be the most interesting character roster of any fighting game series. Because like Street Fighter, like you see Ryu or whatever, and you're like, okay, it's the guy in a gi. He's just like a karate guy, but until you see him moving, you don't really get what he plays like. But like you see Saberwolf, and you're like, that's a freaking werewolf. Like that is our Velociraptor. You know what I mean? That's
Hmm.
Gargoyle. That's Goliath from Gargoyles. Like I would want an action figure of like all of these.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like you said, because even Mortal Kombat, when they were still like testing stuff out and they added in Reptile, like he was still just a green ninja unless he did like his finisher where you could see the actual reptilian face beneath. But so there wasn't like this diverse. I think what Baraka was maybe their most diverse. He had the teeth and the swords coming out. But like this, you got like you said, the dinosaur, the werewolf, the skeleton, the robot, the walking ice and walking fire guys. And, then you get into TJ Combo, who I feel like they're like, hey, Street Fighter's got a boxer that kind of looks like Mike Tyson. Why don't we do the same thing, right? That's kind of where it's like that, but it's just, that's one character.
He felt more like Mortal Kombat Annihilation era Jax.
I think
Yeah,
he
I could
is
see that.
kind of the bastard child of those two influences.
Yeah.
What I love so much is that, like, Butch made an apt comparison to Mortal Kombat, but like even Baraka has like the same silhouette as the other Mortal Kombat fighters.
Right.
Like all of those frames are about the same height and about the same width or whatever. But like Riptor is like he's hunched over because he's a friggin'
Right.
Velociraptor,
Right.
and Idol is a bit taller than, the other fighters and kind of makes him more intimidating. I loved how many fighters had creative ways to get across the screen and close the gap. Like Glacius melting and then, as a puddle sliding across the floor and then coming back into form with an uppercut that knocks your opponent into the air.
Yep.
Freaking sick. Saberwolf. I don't think he can do this in Killer Instinct, but in Killer Instinct Gold, Saberwolf has a move where he basically gets ready to pounce. He goes down on all fours and arches his back and just growls, and you can hold it there and then press the button when you're ready to fly across the screen.
I think he could do it in the first one.
Okay, it feels like Pikachu's like Be Right special. It's like, like going at him.
Yep.
Cinder, I'll full disclosure, Butch, Cinder is definitely not my favorite because he kind of feels like, kind of red Glacius in terms of appearance. But I love how Cinder, as the Johnny Storm living fire character, he doesn't shoot a fireball, he becomes the fireball.
Right.
He launches himself across the screen. So it's like, what if after the Hadouken hits, then your character spawns out of where the Hadouken was? That's kind of a cool move.
Exactly. Yep. And that's one of the reasons why I like him. You're like, oh, but he's the red Glacius. No, Glacius is the blue Cinder. Let's get it straight.
Okay.
He, like you said, he flies across the screen, and not just on the ground. He can be in the air and do it too.
Yeah.
So you can be in the air and do that move and fly across the screen.
That is pretty sick.
And so, and kind of doubling back a little bit, I was sitting here as you were talking, I realized like Mortal Kombat saved the special looking guys for the bosses. Goro, Kintaro, Shao Kahn, right? These guys are all special. They all are the monster, essentially. They're all basically the bot. They're all the Goro. They're all the Kintaro, right? And it's not just, here's ninja copy number 4, so that's why I think that was one of the reasons it's, spoke to me as a kid.
Yeah, 100%. And I am bummed by the Killer Instinct Gold exclusions. The fact that you lose the Velociraptor and Human Torch. And I like Thunder. To just speak to 1 second, because you were kind of trash talking a little bit. I like his spinning attacks. It's sort of like evoked like a fireside dance of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
So he felt really fun to kind of chain combos together. I mean, they're all fun to chain combos
I
together.
actually liked his like Mohawk headbutt that he
Yeah.
did, like that was the one thing I did like about him. Like that was unique.
Yeah, 100%. But then Killer Instinct Gold, you lose Thunder, Riptor, Cinder, and Idol, and you get Kim, Tusk, Maya, and Gargos. Kim is kind of fun because she has like these nunchucks or nunchaku, and like her fireballs, like she kind of jumps into the air to shoot it, so it's kind of like a higher trajectory, than most fireballs would be. I liked Maya's gameplay. She is dual wielding these like sort of knives, so she has all these really fun like kind of 2-hit combos where she's kind of Anakin Skywalker from Clone Wars. But I think the big miss of the new characters is Tusk, because unless I'm misunderstanding how to play that character, he seems like the series' only kind of slow but strong character.
Mm-hmm.
His hits do a ton of damage, but I really struggled to get the combos going with him. Did either of you guys try him out?
Yeah, and I would say the same, that he is the very much like you said, he's the strong but slow. So like it's very much risk versus reward. I always saw him as that they were trying to make him the replacement of Thunder, right? Because like Thunder, you have like Native American backgrounds, right? Very much of the Earth has kind of that spirituality, and so they're like, we'll take out Thunder and we'll put in Tusk, and he's, instead of being Native American, he's a caveman, sort of thing, so they're kind of like, we'll replace one for the other. At least that's the way I always saw it. I could be wrong. I may be 100% wrong, but that's just the way I was like when I played it. I'm like, oh, so they did this instead.
He seems druidic.
Yeah, I was gonna say more Conan the Barbarian than Caveman for me
Yeah,
personally.
I guess. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
Well, because he's also got the whole Stonehenge thing going.
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
his stage is Stonehenge.
yeah.
Can I ask at this point, is there any semblance of like an explanation of what's going on plot wise in Killer Instinct Gold? And I ask that in the framing that like Killer Instinct explains all the characters sort of with it, like their bios in the manual. And one of the things that first threw me was that so Spinal in Killer Instinct is like 2,600 years old.
Okay.
In Killer Instinct Gold, he's 600.
Huh. Is it a different Spinal?
I think it's the same Spinal, but there's also a bunch of references of them being in the past. And so, near as I can piece together, it appears that Killer Instinct Gold is in fact a sequel to Killer Instinct that takes place 2,000 years before Killer Instinct
Fascinating.
because the flow of time has in fact looped back. But I don't really understand what's going on beyond that.
Leave a comment if anybody knows. I'll be honest, I've never played these games for the story.
Mhm.
And I never played them enough to get that familiar with the characters. So I don't have an answer, but I'm sure somebody does.
Oh yeah.
The manual on Killer Instinct Gold has exactly zero explanation of like what's the basis going on here, whereas that was more present in the first one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know what I missed.
100%.
It's like I don't know what I'm missing here, and I don't know if that's a things that were cut out of the arcade game that would have explained stuff better. I don't know, but it was definitely this bit where I'm just like, okay, there's a flow of time thing going on. I think.
Yeah.
At which point, I guess I get why you've got if you're now setting this back, and now you have, I guess, still a couple thousand-year-old Stonehenge, but less old Stonehenge than it is now.
Yeah. There's a Spinal Tap somewhere in here. There's a Spinal Tap joke. I'm not smart enough to figure it out, but Stonehenge, Spinal, make it happen, internet. Do you guys have any other thoughts on the characters before you pick your winner and we head to round two?
Are we doing stages separately, or are we doing like that's part of the character?
I considered that part of presentation. I thought we'd get into that next.
Okay, cool. Yeah, then I'm good.
All right, so we'll let the judges take some notes at the judges' table before heading into round two, presentation. So, Killer Instinct and Killer Instinct Gold. I think that both these games like move impressively quickly, especially the Super Nintendo version. I just think the way that attacks chain one into the other, and your character almost looks like they're a VHS on fast forward, but you're still like in control the whole time. I think is like really genuinely thrilling. And I really loved the way that the characters move in this series. Would you agree?
Yes. Oh yeah, 100%.
The Killer Instinct sort of presentation, I think, is notably worse than Killer Instinct Gold. And it's not really fair because Killer Instinct, as Butch alluded to, was an arcade port of a much more graphically powerful game than the Super Nintendo could handle. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for making it run as well as it does on the Super Nintendo. But I think when you compare it to the Nintendo 64 version, which is a lot closer to the arcade experience, like you get bigger characters, the backgrounds are fully 3D and you can interact with them. There's lots of cool effects like rainfall and sparks. So I kind of think unequivocally Killer Instinct Gold is the better game in terms of looks. Mike, how do you feel?
I think Killer Instinct to me is one of the worst looking fighting games we've played.
Whoa!
And I think it's because this stems out of an arcade game.
Okay.
And effectively, I get the impression that in trying to maintain the look of something that was done at a much higher computing power,
Okay.
it ends up with something that I don't think looks good and often felt sort of really muddy or unclear, as opposed to other games that sort of were designed with the visual limitations they had in mind so that things feel a bit cleaner.
Yeah, it kind of, you're saying it looks like kind of a bad port. I mean, I don't feel that way, but that's kind of the vibe it was giving you. So Killer Instinct Gold, did it do better?
I think it did because it was what it was working with in terms of what its visual capabilities were closer to what they were trying to do. So rather than in trying to make it be as close as they could, they I don't think they went with something that worked with the visual limitations that they had.
Okay. I'm curious what if either of you messed with the Nintendo Switch Online visual settings, because I kind of am with Mike that like when you booted up Killer Instinct, it's like, oof, this is harsh on the eyes. But I went to the CRT filter and that smoothed it out, and I was like, oh, this is what the game's supposed to look like. Did you play with the CRT filter on, Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's just not enough. So Butch, you want to talk about the stages here? What are you thinking?
Well, first off, I have to respectfully disagree with Mike
Okay.
on it, just because of the fact that like when you look at it for the time that it came out and being an arcade port, I think they did really well. Because even if you look at games like Mortal Kombat, when one came out to home console, it was okay, but like Mortal Kombat 1 on Super Nintendo was not a good looking game
Yeah.
at all whatsoever. And Sega Genesis was a little bit better because you had the blood in it, but even then it was still rough. And yes, this was a little bit later in the cycle, but I think the fact that it had the Super FX chip, I feel like they did well. I think the music is still in there very nicely. I think the stages are good. They're not as beautiful as the N64 version because they can't be,
Yeah.
right? You have the N64 compared to the Super Nintendo. But I still think it's a more beautiful game than some of the other fighters because the other fighters that I like to dub either Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter clones is they try to look for the beauty and then the controls are sluggish, or the controls are good, but then everything just looks awful. And so I feel like this does well, especially like you said for the time. And like the CRT filter does matter because games nowadays that you're trying to play in a high def, they were made specifically to have those gaps filled in by the TV, right? But anyway, going to the stages, this was one of the games where like stage pitfalls or being killed by the stage actually happened. Like Mortal Kombat had the pit, you could finish them by doing the uppercut into the pit, and then two, you had the code for it. But this one, you could be mid combat and somebody could get knocked off the stage. And that didn't really happen in fighters prior to this. Not that I'm aware of, anyways. Like this having like this the being on top of the skyscraper, right? And you're fighting, and then all of a sudden you're thrown off onto a car, right? You see the person falling, and then they hit a car on the bottom. Like that just wasn't in fighting games.
And
Yeah.
credit due, that was a nice car.
It was a nice car.
And that's also the cars that the Raptors are running over at the end of Riptor's ending. It's like
Yes.
someone was like, "Hey, we have this little environment we built at the bottom of the stage. Let's use it for a cutscene." I was like, "Heck
Right,
yeah!" Like,
exactly.
It's also the car that Combo drives through to show off that he's got money again.
is it the same car that Jago drops as a weird fatality, which is probably the strangest
Yeah.
fatality in the game? Is like this ninja with this laser sword and these Hadoukens, and he meditates, and then he drops a car on you.
Well, I wonder if that's supposed to be, since you made the comparison to Idol's ending being a spoof for Street Fighter. I wonder if that's supposed to be a spoof for Mortal Kombat because Liu Kang had a fatality where he'd drop a Mortal Kombat cabinet on you. So I'm
Right.
wondering if that was kind of like, hey, let's just have this ninja drop a car on you.
It makes as much sense, arguably. So I thought that the stages in Killer Instinct Gold were really fun because it's really fascinating. The characters are 2D sprites, but the backgrounds are fully 3D. And so sometimes fighters will rotate a bit and you'll kind of be on a different plane. So at Saberwolf's castle stage, you can knock your opponent through a wall, and that opens up more stage for more horizontal access. So you were corner trapped, and yeah, you got kicked through the wall, that hurt, but now you got a little bit more room to wiggle around. I loved the stage, TJ Combo's stage. There's this train going through the city background, and you can knock your opponent into explosive barrels. And I wish it did more damage. It doesn't seem to, but like I really liked the destructible environments that really set it apart. And I know Street Fighter 2 did that. and I think some Mortal Kombat games did as well. But the fact that the destructible environments were in 3D, I think really added a level of thrill. By far, my favorite one is Black Orchid stage on the rooftop. It's a helipad with a helicopter parked behind you, and you can uppercut your opponents, and they go clonk. They hit the stationary helicopter blade, and it starts spinning. And I'm like, that is satisfying.
Yep.
Oh, and we would be remiss to not celebrate the announcer, the music.
Yes.
Like this game has such an iconic like sound font that Maximilian Dude, one of my favorite streamers, he recognized this on the Nintendo Direct from just a couple of notes.
Mhm.
Like I love Killer Instinct music. I love the Killer Instinct announcer. And I like how both games look, but I think Gold takes the cake on presentation. And Mike, you're with me?
I mean, it almost serves as a default. Yeah.
Okay. Dang, you really didn't like how Killer Instinct looked.
Although I did like the music on Killer Instinct.
Like more than Killer Instinct Gold?
It's the one that had the music stuck out to me enough that I remember going, I'm liking this music.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Orchids too. I mean, they gave you a whole CD for it. That's how good it was. Well, oh, sorry, we weren't supposed to announce our winners yet. I screwed that up.
I, and I would agree, like by default, and not because I feel like Killer Instinct is a bad game. Gold's on the N64, so it does look better.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with Mike. Like the music is so much better in one. Like I having the CD for one, I loved it. I was like, yes, I listened to it. I was not disappointed not having a CD for Gold.
Yeah, I read that there was a CD release you could buy separately, but it wasn't included. It's like, kind of a miss.
Yeah.
I do also think the Killer Instinct Gold character models, something about like the heads look like 15% too big, especially on
Yes.
like the more humanoid characters. Like there's something weirdly like Barbie doll about them that I think is a little odd. And as much as I loved the 3D background, did you guys ever encounter an object from the 3D background obscuring your camera?
Yes.
Yes.
I was TJ combo stage, and it's like it's kind of neat because like the camera pans up and you're looking down on your fighters, almost like you're a news helicopter. I'm like, well, this is kind of a cool vibe. But then the camera got behind a street lamp and I could not see my fighters, and I was like, uh-oh. So this doesn't seem intentional. But, I love a big swing. All right, so then let's get on to our final category, the big one, gameplay. How do we feel about the way that these games play differently? So Butch, you're a Killer Instinct boy. Which is your what's your thoughts on these?
I'd have to go with the original, and it may be bias. I don't know. I just I feel like Gold has a little bit more clunkiness to it.
Okay.
Just not much, right? It's not where it's terrible, but I feel like input on the original is better. Whereas on here, I get a feeling where I'm like, because it looks so good that it's a little bit performance lag. Not, and like I said, not anything where it's like, God, this is awful, but just enough where I'm like, I'm having a hard time doing regular combos rather than even just trying out the other stuff. So, that's just my feeling on it. I feel characters flow better in the original into one from one combo into the next.
And you know what's strange about that is that was my initial impression as well. Is like this feels slow and clunky in comparison. And then I changed the speed of the game to fast, and I was like, oh, this is Killer Instinct. Like this feels as fast as the Super Nintendo game, and Ultra is ridiculously fast. Like I can't keep up with Ultra speed on Killer Instinct Gold. But I'm like, why did they make the default one that is noticeably slower than the first game? Like, I wonder how many people rented this and said, ugh, like, and told their friends, oh, Killer Instinct Gold is slower and never knew to just go change it. Like, Mike, did you mess with the speed settings?
I did not.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to guess you felt that Killer Instinct Gold, well, actually, I don't know. What'd you think?
I think, as far as the gameplay, I think I preferred Gold.
Okay. Interesting.
Some of that is, or a solid chunk is controls. Some of that might be mitigated if I had like an SNES controller that I was playing with.
Better D-pad.
Yeah. If I'd had D-pad, that might have made some difference. I think the other thing is just the better layout for the punching and kicking.
Yeah, because Mike plays on the actual N64 Switch controller. So he has the quick, medium, and fierce punch in a row, and then the kick buttons below them in a row. So it's like the arcade essentially layout, which, the way that I play it, I have to have my quick punch and quick kit as the shoulder buttons. But also, I actually didn't mind that so much because one of the things I love about the way this game plays is that when you hit your opponent, a lot of fighting games will have your opponent get knocked down or knocked away from you. But in Killer Instinct, in both games, but especially the first game, when you punch an opponent, they kind of get stuck to you a little bit. And so you have the second to like do another attack and another attack. And so I love the feel of this game because I never learned, like, I never memorized combos, but I could jump in with an attack and then kind of pepper in hits of the shoulder buttons. And those quick little attacks are kind of filling in the gaps between my stronger attacks. In every other fighting game I've ever played, you have to learn combos, but Killer Instinct, I feel like you can kind of make them up as you go.
Oh
You
yeah,
get, yeah, you like that, Butch?
yeah, 100%. Because like you said, you can know the combos and you can do them, but then if you don't, like you said, you could pepper in some stuff, kind of make up your own, do some quick jabs, and that way you don't feel as bad like with Mortal Kombat 3 where they had their combo system. If you didn't know the combos, you just looked bad. Whereas
Yeah.
this, you could kind of make them.
Yeah.
The N64 manual makes the point that there's millions of combos and gives a whole bunch of different like options of sets of attacks that would form a combo.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels like that because I mean when you button mash in this game, combos will start to happen. So there must be so many combos that you kind of just accidentally stumble upon a command or something. Like right before we played, I like, did a ultra combo against Butch and I never learned how to do that. I was just, click, 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 click. But one thing I definitely miss from the gameplay going from SNES to N64 is that the Super Nintendo has the auto double system where every fighter, if you jump in with the X attack and then follow up when you land with the B attack. So essentially, you're rolling your thumb from the top of your controller to the bottom. Every single fighter will launch into an automatic two-hit combo. And then from there, you can, like Butch said, start peppering in things. So it was like this kind of, hey, we got you for the start of it, no matter what character you pick. Just learn this one thing and you will be competitive. Not competitive enough to beat our new friend Dan, who creamed me and Butch and Mike.
Oh
In
yeah, he
the
was good.
he was good. Hope you're listening, Dan, and I hope you are spending that $30 eShop gift card in a way that brings you joy. Everybody, don't forget to join the Discord www.theoldswitcharoo.com so you can take my money next time because it was a lot of fun doing an online tournament on Nintendo Switch Online. But the Killer Instinct Gold, I think if you take fighting games really seriously, I imagine that's the game you'll prefer because you got to learn combos for every character. You got to do your fatalities at the end of a combo that's about to kill your opponent. Whereas the first game, they do the danger, danger, and they stagger like in Mortal Kombat, waiting for you to put in the command for fatality, which like it feels like Super Nintendo is more user friendly. And since I'm always of the opinion that games are better when more people get to enjoy them, I think Super Nintendo feels a bit better to play.
Yep.
Did we did you guys have any we kind of touched on a couple of the fatalities, but B Orchid's fatality where she like flashes the other character is so freaking 90s.
Oh yeah.
And it is sort of funny how like if Black Orchid flashes another Black Orchid, she just gets mad that like her boobs aren't as nice, I guess. Like I don't really know. I don't know what's
Right.
going on there. But like, I was kind of excited for Killer Instinct Gold to be adding two new female characters, but Maya is practically naked. So it's like I don't know if this was
Yeah.
good for the cause.
Right.
But
More sex because
yeah.
we just
So Butch, did you have a preference for the Mortal Kombat fatality style finisher, or did you like how Killer Instinct Gold made you attach it to a combo?
Oh no, I liked the first one
Yeah.
for sure. Because and the reason is I think one because they're creative, but two like it goes back into accidentally doing something. The first time I ever did an ultra combo was like a 30-hit combo, and I don't know how I did it to this day. I was playing Cinder, and the next thing I know, I'm doing it, and I'm like, how did I do this?
Yeah.
How did I do this? You know?
Staring at your hands like a superhero in a movie, like
Right.
this strange power.
Right. And so I feel like it makes it more available. I think having that system, and I prefer it. It's, and it may be nostalgia to me.
I don't know if this was the first game. I think this was the first game to have a combo breaker system, but like a lot of fighting games have implemented Killer Instinct's combo breaker system because people who take fighting games really seriously love to string big attacks together. But when you're on the receiving end of that, it is very demoralizing. And like I've played Marvel versus Capcom matches where like I'm not touching the controller for like 20 straight seconds because they just keep juggling me.
Yep.
So I love this game for building in a hey, there's an off ramp, combo breaker.
Yep.
Our friend Brian always slips that into a group chat when we're doing like a punchline and he like interrupts it. um, but I don't know if it was just me, and I don't know if Butch can speak to this, but I set the combo breakers to easy on Super Nintendo, and I don't feel like I ever did them. Like I feel like combo breakers were easier to do on the N64 one.
Yeah, Super Nintendo, even setting it to easy, you still had to time it precise,
Yeah.
right? You still had to do it. And first off, once again, if this wasn't the first, which I'm pretty sure it definitely was the most famous for it. Because,
Yeah.
like the phrase you just said, right? The combo breaker. There are people that have never even heard of this game that will say that phrase
Yeah.
because it's just that influential. And so that definitely, I think, just speaks to it. The fact that even if this isn't the first, it definitely was the most famous. But going back to the question, yes, I feel like it was easier to pull off in the N64 version. I don't know why. I don't know if they backed off the timing on how precise it needed to be. I will say I managed to do it twice to, what was his name, Dan. I managed to
Yeah.
get 2 off on him.
Nice.
So that was the highlight for me, where I was like, I got 2 of them,
Yeah.
but still, I feel like it was easier for the N64.
You hear that, Dan? You fucking suck. I'm kidding. He mopped the floor with us.
Yeah,
Mike, did you mess with focus training on Killer Instinct Gold? Because I like this a lot.
I did not.
So, Killer Instinct Gold added a wonderful training mode where you can pick any character, and not only will it tell you how to do their special moves, but it gives you this training dummy, this 3D training dummy that will only break if you do the move correctly. And like they invented a whole stage for it. There's a little sensei meditating in the background, floating off the ground, who says like pass when you do it properly. But it also teaches you all the combos. I wish it had the super moves in there because Killer Instinct adds a super bar that you kind of fill faster by doing combos. There's nothing that I found that was like particularly flashy about the super moves. It was just more like, hey, shoot your fireball, but now this one does more damage and travels a little faster. But this is now a staple. This is how modern fighting games teach you how to play a character. So to see it this far back, from the 90s, I was like, whoa, okay. Killer Instinct Gold, Killer Instinct 2, like they were cooking with this series. So I got to give them credit for, in that degree, making it easier to learn. It was wonderful to not have to pull up a sheet on my phone or go to a FAQ to look up the moves. I really liked that a lot. All right. Well, ding, ding, ding. That's the bell. It's time for our judges to make the final decision in the Killer Instinct versus Killer Instinct Gold versus match. Let's settle it here. First of all, for characters, Killer Instinct Vanilla or Killer Instinct Gold? I know Mike likes the Killer Instinct characters better, right, Mike? You got to go with the Raptor.
It's more that Killer Instinct gave the characters actual character with, I think, especially with both what's in the with the character bios in the manual combined with the different victories for each of them.
Yeah.
And I think just that makes it a lot more interesting.
Okay.
Weird aside, the difference between that versus Killer Instinct Gold with Saberwolf is in one of them, he becomes cured of being a werewolf, and in the other, he basically fully gives in to being a monster.
Wow.
Yeah, weirdly divergent.
Is Gold the one where he gives in?
Yes.
Because that would play into your theory that Gold is the prequel. Fascinating. And Butch, I feel like you're never going to forgive Gold for getting rid of your boy Cinder.
Right.
So it's a sweep. Killer Instinct, I think, has the better roster. You remove the dinosaur, you remove Johnny Storm, you screwed up. Like you cut the wrong characters. I don't know, man. Okay, so presentation. Mike and I kind of chimed in already. Butch, what do you think? What looks
This is a toss up to me
it's
because
tough.
looks wise, obviously the N64
Yeah.
because it's on the N64. Like you can't. It's hard for it to compete, right? Music wise, the original has it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm split on it because it's beautiful, and I think they're both beautiful games. I really do. It's just obviously the N64 has more power, but the music to me for the original is just so nostalgic and is so worth listening to even now. I'm sure you could stream it somewhere, right, on some whatever you've got, if you can't find a copy of the CD. But it's just the music is so much better. So I don't know what you want to call that. It's looks wise, gold, music, original.
Well, I don't think it matters because Mike, you liked Killer Instinct Gold better by default because you thought Killer
Yeah.
Instinct on the SNES was just ugly. And I do got to give it to Gold. I think, like, we talked about how cool these character designs are to just see them in more detail, to see them bigger, to see backgrounds with movement and interactivity. And yeah, I would say that Butch is right. I think SNES has a slightly better soundtrack, but there's just too many cool graphical touches in Gold to not give it to Killer Instinct Gold, which is exciting because it means it's tied up going into the final round gameplay. I gotta give this one to the Super Nintendo version. I am just a fan of accessibility and a game that is open to players who don't normally play fighting games, which is fascinating because I think that's the reason Mike likes Gold's gameplay better. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought gold was more accessible.
So it all comes down to this. Butch,
Hmm.
okay, put your love for Cinder aside,
Hmm.
okay? We know that you don't like half gore, you like full gore, but he's in both games. I had no place to slip that joke in. I've been waiting this whole time. I screwed up. I'm sorry. That was awful. Butch, gameplay. Decide the versus match. Gold or the Killer Instinct vanilla.
I have to go with the original because of what I said earlier, because I feel like it flows better. I feel like the combos can flow better, and I feel like having the quote unquote fatality system just works better, right? I don't know what it is. It just playing them the original feels better to me. And that could be, some 100 other people could say, gold feels better to them. To me, the original just feels better.
Well, that settles it by a hair. I don't think we could get a closer match if we tried. The official winner of the Old Switcheroo Killer Instinct versus match is the OG Killer Instinct on the SNES. So let us know in the comments if you agree with our verdict, especially if you're upset and you're a Killer Instinct Gold stan. Yell at us in the comments. We could use the engagement. So, guys, that brings us to the moment of truth. We've covered the Joy Pros, the Joy Cons, and every bit in between. So it's time to declare each game from today's episode as a Nintendo or a NintenDON'T. For me, these are both Nintendos. I think personally, Killer Instinct is a Super Nintendo. I adore this game. And I think Killer Instinct Gold is just a regular Nintendo. But I feel like try them both because as much as they're in the same series, I think you might prefer one over the other. And so it's worth seeing what your personal preference is. So I placed Killer Instinct Gold at number 46 in our rankings, right above Tetris 99 and right below Sonic Spinball. And the original did a fair bit better. I put the Killer Instinct on the SNES as my 13th favorite game we've covered, right below Pokemon Snap and a hair higher than F-Zero 99. Mike, where did you place these games? And what's your verdict?
For me, both of them they're Nintendon'ts.
Oh,
I don't find them
Really?
I don't find them at all fun.
Mike's not a fighting game guy.
I suppose.
Even with respect to I think other fighting games, I don't like the feel of this one.
Okay.
Some of that is I think being always on the end of combos
Yeah.
and fancier moves.
Okay.
Just it wasn't an enjoyable experience with either of the games.
Okay.
So for me, I ended up putting Killer Instinct Gold at 82, which puts it right below Fighter's History and right above Doomsday Warrior. And I went back and tried both of those a little bit when I was placing these.
Okay, so you tested it.
Yeah, I went back and kind of compared.
Yeah.
And then Killer Instinct at 89, right below the NES Dr. Mario and above Legend of Zelda.
So you're placing Killer Instinct on the SNES, a beloved classic, below Doomsday Warrior.
I think Doomsday Warrior was more fun.
Wow. Wow, Mike with the hot takes. Blistering hot takes.
Not tremendous, like Doomsday Warrior is down there as well, because I don't think it's tremendously fun either. But
It's
head
just
to
the
head,
lesser.
I would, yeah.
Wow, that is unique.
And I think Doomsday Warrior and Fighter's History both look better. Like that was part of what they looked better and they felt better, which was for me, which is what I was checking. So like I'm comparing it to other SNES fighting games of the time, but I think both of those feel more like they were designed for the graphical capabilities they were working with.
I could see the argument for Fighter's History, but saying Doomsday Warrior looks better than Killer Instinct is wild. But you know what? It's do you, Mike? Do you, Butch? I need you, buddy. Get in here.
Yes. I will say that they're both a Nintendo.
Thank God.
The original, I would have to agree with you, JMO, that the original is a Super Nintendo,
Yeah.
and then Gold is just a Nintendo. And in my rankings, they barely beat out Spanky's Quest. Sorry, I had to drop the reference. You guys have been doing it in a lot of episodes, so I was like, it hasn't been done yet. I got to do it in this one.
I like to imagine that some programmer for Spanky's Quest has like, those little Google alerts. And he's like, this weird show keeps mentioning Spanky's Quest. Amazing. Well, at last, that brings us to our and standings. Not Mike, not JMO, but the and in between. Let's take a look at our mathematically average rankings for these two games. Mike, where did our combatants land in our shared ranking of every retro game available in Nintendo Switch Online that we've covered so far? I am clenching for this one. I am scared.
All right. Killer Instinct comes in at 45th, which puts it just below Kirby's Dream Land and Punch Out.
Okay.
And just above Mario Kart Super Circuit.
I don't hate that. I mean, obviously I would put it higher, but those are pretty good games. Okay.
And just go on the record, I'm pretty sure Punch Out is not that far down because of me.
Yeah, we have different tastes in fighting games, don't we?
Yeah. And then Killer Instinct Gold is tied for 58th with Solomon's Key, which puts it right below Super Mario Brothers and right above Dr. Mario 64.
Super Mario Brothers. Oh, I thought it was Mario Brothers, the weird arcade one. No, this is like the original. Okay. I mean, you know what? I think it kind of shook out decently.
They are both slightly ahead of Spanky's Quest at 68.
Spanky's Quest bringing up the rear. How appropriate. Well, guys, we're going to call that game over for today. Butch, it's always a pleasure to throw hands with you, at least until you reach for your Dragon Morpher. Before we launch you from the stage, where can listeners go to to see you, Power Ranger?
On Twitch, SSJ3 Butch. As I said during the Pokemon thing, I am on a bit of a hiatus. I've got family stuff that's going on that I'm trying to take care of. I'm hoping by next fall, this upcoming fall, I should say, I should be back on a regular schedule again. So, yeah, you should be able to find me there, SSJ3 Butch. I play Pokemon. I play story games. We have a good time. Come on and check me out.
We always have a good time. And actually a good time to mention that Mike maintains the old SwitchAroo.com, aroo.com. And a cool feature on that site is that you can sort by guest, right, Mike? And anyone can find Butch's other episodes.
Yes, you can check out from the page for this one. You can see you can go to our guest page, find him and all our other guests, see all the episodes he's been on.
You don't get enough credit for that site. It's super snazzy. I love it. I really appreciate it. Well, that all sounds excellent. Everyone join us next time when we'll be rallying the troops for Fire Emblem Path of Radiance on the GameCube. This would normally be the part of the pod where I thank Crystal Fields for her incredible intro song and tell you all to go to www.theoldswitcharoo.com. But today, instead of saying goodbye to our listeners, I'd like to offer a fond and heartbreaking farewell to a dear friend of the show, Colleen. Most of you last heard her voice on the Pilot Wings episode back in season 3, episode 3. But I deeply regret to inform you all that a couple of months ago, Colleen passed away. Her death was not only tragic and sudden, but worst of all, preventable. And as a person with an insatiable curiosity and a fascination for the macabre, I have no doubt she is eagerly exploring the world beyond this one, where she can once again be wrapped in the loving embrace of her mom and dad, and she's soaring in ways that she could only do in spirit before. But I just want everyone to know that her legacy that she left in my life and our lives, it was way more beautiful and treasured than I think she ever realized. In our almost 30 years of friendship, she was the girl that introduced me to so many wonderful things: Princess Bride, Gargoyles, Freddy Krueger, and Firefly. In the 90s, we would run across the playground imitating the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park. Uh, with her impressive collection of alien action figures, we staged the most epic battles that a backyard had ever seen. She taught me how to swim, how to roll D20s, and it was her house I would always sneak off to play violent games like God of War, Twisted Metal, or, of course, Killer Instinct. Decades later, my wife and I moved to Los Angeles, and it was Colleen who made the long drive at night to a noisy dance club in downtown LA to celebrate Jackie's birthday, even though there wasn't a single thing about those activities that she enjoyed. She was a brilliant artist, a sensitive soul, and as a proud trans woman, she had the bravery to be her authentic self in a world that discouraged it time and time again. So, Colleen, you may not have been able to be a part of this episode like we had talked about, but your presence was felt nonetheless. It always will be. For that, I'm forever grateful. So, bye for now, dear friends. In this life and the next, we love you all.
The outro is going to be a weird, jarring musical tone there.
Why?
Um,
What are you gonna put, Mike? Oh no! Don't do the. Screw it. Colleen would have loved it. Do it, Mike. Bastard.